Theodore Roosevelt once said, "The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, and spends himself in a worthy cause, who at best, if he wins, knows the thrills of high achievement, and if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat."
This is it. And we're live.
That's it. Dude, it's funny. I was going to text you earlier, too, because, I spent, I got out of rehab the day after Thanksgiving, and, you spend the whole time trying to work on balance. Mm-hmm. And my wife and I, reconnected, created this nice flow, and then we get this fucking dog last night. And for 36 hours, we were, not seeing eye to eye. So this morning, she wanted to go one way. I wanted to go another way with the dog. And I'm like, should I cancel? Should I not cancel? She's like, no, do your fucking podcast. I'll figure it out. I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah, there you go.
So
that's what always happens too. Is especially a dude like you. You're it's funny. You're 6.5 months sober, and again, my story is like your story. 2005 to 2011, bounced in and out for a long time, and was picking and choosing what I felt comfortable doing. So them relapses they're the best teacher for us, but I don't recommend them.
Yeah.
And a guy like you, it's funny, you keep putting more and more on your plate, and it's it's okay. That doesn't mean you're going to drink or not drink, but it's the thing. It's it's your journey, and it's you're the one that has to assess what happened, and the important thing is even in early sobriety, it's the 12-step fellowships that people are part of, they're perfect. Mm-hmm. If it wasn't for human beings, right?
We're the ones that screw it up.
But that's what it is. It's that worked the whole time. It was it was me. It was always but it's funny when you go back out, what do you do? I'll do anything but that. I ain't going back there.
Yeah.
It don't work.
Yeah.
Well, why? Right? That's what I always tell, the last time I went away, right? I went back to the same rehab I just left 6 months ago. And I was the president then. And
I was vice president.
Yeah, reelected. And I'm I'm doing right now. But the counselor was wow, I'm surprised you're back. And I'm you're surprised? I can't believe I'm back here. I was doing everything that I was supposed to be doing, blah, blah, blah. And this counselor, Johnny, came into me, and I couldn't talk because I had the knot in my throat. I was going to cry. And he seen me in the room, and he just knew, my personality was different. I was blown away I was back, and I can't believe, I drank again. And my story is I tried heroin for the first time 4 months sober.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Because the dude I was dealing with didn't have what, and I don't say that with pride. I say that with a profound sadness. That's where it took me, and I was so blown away that what am I missing? And this tech who kind of cornered me in the room the one night after a week or two of being there again, and he said what were you doing everything? I was everything I was supposed to be doing. I was at a meeting the night before. And he said to me, right, and I'm not a dumb kid, but this wasn't on my radar. He's have you ever tried the 12 steps?
Oh, so when you relapsed after the 4 months, you weren't in AA at that time?
No, I was. I was in AA. There's a difference, right? We talk about all the time.
Yeah.
Being in AA and around AA.
Yeah.
I was around AA for a long time. And I was actually going to do the work. I wholeheartedly admit it. We talked about it, right? I didn't think I was an alcoholic. I just thought I was a drug addict. I thought I could, if I just leave this alone and these people there was a time where I just drank again and I did well. You do well in all these other aspects of your life, but when it comes to this, I get licked time and time. It was my master. But I remember that dude saying have you ever tried the 12 steps? That should be a pretty obvious answer in a 12-step fellowship, and it just wasn't. Where I was just no, and I start crying because it was a relief where I was oh my God, all right, and I got busy doing that stuff in the rehab. You want to know why? Because I was going to go back and tell them, I told you so. It don't work. June 3rd will be 13 years later.
That's amazing, dude.
I'm still waiting to go tell them.
Yeah.
And it's and that's what we told. Sean's Anonymous had one member. You always seem to be drinking and doing drugs. And it's just when you give yourself to the program wholeheartedly, and it's just stop trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's dude, it's just go. Just do it.
It's fun. I just heard something Friday night at the meeting. The one guy was it was funny. Somebody brought their daughter in. She was 4, and she was being super disruptive. And you could tell some of the old heads were getting a little annoyed. So the one guy kept saying the F word. It's a very respectable guy. If you knew who he was, you would.
Yeah.
He's a great dude. And he kept saying, like, it's fucking repa-fucking-tition. That's all it is repa-fucking-tition. And, like, I agree. It's like, you got to do the same things every day. At least I do the same thing every day.
Yeah.
And it works. And these are the things, like, I would never do before. Like, Meatball was like, have you read the green card? I'm like, well, I read the yesterday, today, and tomorrow part. He's like, read the whole fucking thing, you asshole.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, it's so hard to do. And now it's like every day I do it.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people, oh, it's so repetitive.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I heard a speaker say one time, like, yeah, you know what else is? Breathing.
Yeah.
And it's just like that. It's just that simple. We want to make it like it's like this big deal, but it's funny. Like, I get people that like almost seek me out time and time again, seek out people and like try to like switch sponsors, do all that. Like, there's no special answer.
Yeah.
Like, there's just like, I'm not special. And like people like think that you have, like, dude, all it is like, this is what we do. Like, if you want what we have, you have to do what we do. And like, this is the only way I know that I ever stayed stopped. Right? Like, there's 100 different ways to get there, but I could tell you, like, the 12-step fellowship that I'm a part of, that we're a part of, is statistically, numbers-wise, the most successful method.
Yeah, you just got to do it.
That's it.
It's as simple as if, like, we hear those cliches all the time. It works if you work it, but it works.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But you don't know that until, like, you actually go through it. Like, I'm telling you, like, I honestly thought, like, I'm going to do this stuff. I'm going to drink again and go back. Like, say it don't work. Like, that's, like, but I also was feared up. I was very scared. I didn't want to put pen to paper. Like, my handcuffs for a long time were like 4 and 5. And like, dude, I'm not doing that. What do my secrets got to do with drinking and doing drugs? Well, apparently a lot, dude. You keep drinking and doing drugs.
Yeah.
So go find out.
Yeah.
And that's what I always said. Like, people, oh, I got out of my own way. Like, I didn't. Like, what happened is the pain just got great enough.
That's what it was. I'd never felt so low in my entire life. The last time when I got the 1.5 years sober 5 years ago, I thought what I put myself through the day before that time was the end. I found myself in Camden. I got my window broken by some dude. I had to go to work, and I lied to my foreman to get it fit. Like, it was a whole. Then I had date night with my wife.
I was listening to your last couple podcasts.
It was just nothing but lies, and I'm like, I swear to God, like, that was it for me. And then somebody shared it. You hear it all the time. I forgot how bad it was. I forgot the pain.
I don't think you did. You know what I mean? I think it comes down to the fact, like, when I drank and drugged again, like, I wasn't willing to do everything necessary in order to stay sober.
Yeah, well, it's like it's like a linear progression. Like, you stop making meetings and you do that dumb shit, and then obviously you forget the pain and then you relapse because you weren't plugged in.
Well, that's the craziest part is, like, we drink and drug again. Like, these people that do that, it's just like, we know the result. It's just not going to be good, right? Like, the best possible end result for you today, you drink today, is like, get a day of sobriety. Well, you already have 6.5 months. Let's work off of that.
Yeah.
Let's build, because it's not going to get different. You're not going to get good at that lifestyle.
No.
And I know that not because I read a book. It's because I did it. I tried every which way. And that's the thing, from staying around to being around. I never once seen this disease, or whatever you want to call it. I'm not here to debate it.
Yeah, there's no point.
But it's like, I never once seen it removed from anybody that suffered from it. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when the shit's going to hit the fan. And that's what I used to think, like, well, if it hits the fan, I'll just come back to the meeting.
Yeah.
And that requires the ability of choice. When I drink and drug, I don't have a choice.
Yep.
Like, it's like I went crawling away, tears in my eyes to the EAP, like, dude, please put me away. And they said, where do you want to go, Philly or Florida? And I said, Florida, because I'll kick the doors open down here and I'll just quit. Like, I had to be like, away, here's my license, here's my kid, not like nothing, dude. Like, because if I had an opportunity and I had $10, I'm gone.
You're out.
Like, I just couldn't stop. And like, how, like, it's sad and powerful.
It's fucking insane.
Like, it's nuts.
It's so insane, man.
With everything to live for, with everything got, like, I couldn't stop.
You got your almost 13 years sober, right? How long you been with your wife?
Me and Syl been together since I was a sophomore in college.
Oh, so she saw it all.
On and off. And the reason we're together today is because of her.
Right.
I would have folded the hand a long time ago. I have an aunt that's sober 40 years. I was born in June 10th, so I turned 28 in rehab. I found rehab during every goddamn holiday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's nothing sad.
I got Thanksgiving, a Christmas, and a New Year's under my belt.
How sad is rehab when you're like cutting up the turkey and like everyone's crying into their cranberry sauce?
Yeah.
Like, I just want to go home. Your family don't want you there. You're a pain in the ass.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And you at least know where you're at. But I Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, my birthday, and that's what the council I worked in the fire. I was like, dude, what do you just come during that? But like, no day mattered. It didn't matter because it was always, the same routine. It was, I'm going to get sober tomorrow or Monday or one more time. It just doesn't stop.
Yeah.
And like the holidays weren't on my radar. I just become this dude, this animal that, and I say animal, but the animals at least like take care of their young and bathe and shit. And
yeah, it's like it's just this one big hamster wheel. Every day it's like the fucking same shit.
And it's just so depressing.
Yeah.
It's just sad. And that's what like dying would be a vacation compared to like living like that. And
it's brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I said the one time I was literally sitting in the trailer at work. I tried antidepressants. I tried gummies. I tried all these different things except for AA. And I actually thought about it. I'm sitting in my trailer. I'm running the job. And I actually thought to myself, like, I don't know if I'd kill myself, but the thought of being like this forever is fucking terrible.
Well, that's the thing. Like, it took me to get sober to realize, like, I've had suicide in my family. An uncle, I was with him the night before. A buddy from the neighborhood, I was with him the night before at my graduation party. Killed himself on my birthday, June 10th, the following day. I had an aunt shoot herself, and the hard part during all that is I was sober at the time is when she woke up, she still wanted to die. And she was eventually successful in killing herself 9 years later when I had 2 years sober. So we can even get into all them kind of stories too. But like I used to take not pride, like I was never going to kill myself because like how much it affects the family, but I was okay with not waking up. And it took me to have a clear head and get sober, stay sober. And we're like, do you think my parents would have cared had they had to bury their kid?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
That goes against the natural order of life.
Yeah.
Like how like heart-wreshing all that. And we hear the stories, right? Like it's so sad. I actually just spoke at a Naranon meeting for my one buddy. Mm-hmm. And, I'm around all these moms. A lot of it's like moms and talking about burying their kids and gives you a dose of reality of like what you put your family through.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. Like I remember, what I think is special about me and my sobriety is just I had the good teachers. And I remember a guy sharing at a meeting before. He said, "I think God helped discover like the 12 steps and all that kind of stuff because he was sick and tired of what the drug addict, the alcoholic, was doing to themselves." And one of the older guys at our group said, like, "I disagree. Like I just think he was sick and tired of what we were doing to our families. Like we're numb." Yeah. We're numb. They're feeling all that, and they're taking all that in, and I'm like, that makes more sense. Like,
it does. It does.
And I know you don't mean to.
No, I never actively wanted to fucking ruin my wife's life. You know what I mean? Like I just had to do what I had to do, and I just was selfish drug addict. Selfish drug addict.
That's the core of it all. It's self-centeredness and selfishness, and that whole journey. Even like. I remember even suicide. You want to talk about that? And I remember being at that rehab for the final time and working with the same counselor and pride and ego and all that. It comes at you in different ways. And I remember telling him like how much I hated myself. I'm a piece of shit. If I could kick my own ass, I would. Going on these tangents, and he's like, you know what that is? And I'm like, no, what? He's like, it's your pride and your ego. I'm like, how's it pride and ego?
Yeah, how's he connect that?
I can't even look in the mirror. He's like, all you're thinking about is you. And I'm like. And he said, you want to know what the ultimate act of self is? Suicide. It's all you're wrapping your head around is you. Huh. And I'm like, okay. And it like kind of woke me up a little bit more along with that conversation with that counselor about like doing some step work. And I was so scared during that period of time. I had to have like mini word vomit with a couple of the counselors there in order to free my hand up to start writing some stuff down.
Yeah.
It was just, it had me that paralyzed, if I'm being honest. And that stuff that I carried with me for a long time, like this, I always say, like, I'm working with a guy now, it's like a 100-pound sack, right? And you go through this process, and like my sponsor, he didn't absolve me of my sins and give me the blessing. It's like it became a 5-pound sack. Well, why is it 5 pounds and why didn't it go away? Well, because now it's like that's a reminder of your past, and it's manageable and it doesn't dominate you. But it's a good reminder when you think a drink or a drug's a good idea, like that's who you are, dude.
Yeah. Like
I'll swindle my mom out of her retirement. Like I'm a dude that'll like come up with the story to make you feel bad. I won't steal from you. I'll make you give it to me.
Yeah. There's like a saying, right? Like an alcoholic will steal your money, a drug addict will steal your money and help you look for it.
Yeah. Well, listen, I know dudes that one dude had a story where he stole from his brother, helped him look for it, and then was going to give him a loan on his own money. Like it's like, but that's the kind of people like we surround. And thank God for laughter, right? Thank God for like, dude, how nuts that is, and like we don't carry all that kind of stuff, and you get to kind of try to make all that kind of stuff right.
But I think that's one of the most powerful things in AA. There was a dude that shared a while ago, and he was laughing about some of the crazy shit that he did. And what I came to realize, it's not that you're laughing because it's funny. It's like a sigh of relief that you're not in it no more. At least that's how I feel. Like it's such a relief. Like not that my wife and I laugh about any of the things I do, but my grandfather would always say it's funny, but it ain't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, thank God you're not in that shit anymore.
Well, I think that's even just the Irish Catholic background. Like, don't talk about it long enough, it goes away. If like at the end of the day, if we're not laughing, we're probably crying.
For real.
Because there's a lot of tragedy and all that kind of stuff that comes with it too. And that's it. I remember you when we first sat down and you said you want to do this interview, like traumatic stories, and even traumatic stories. I remember I have some, right, and I couldn't talk about them, not in my throat, tears in my eyes kind of thing until maybe I would have like that counseling session with one of my homies in the woods, like we would cry and cry, and then like, you couldn't look at the dude in the eye for like 2 weeks. Like, I don't want to do that again. Yeah. But like, so I never really was able to do that until I got sober. And that's just the thing. It's just like a lot of this stuff is just like about feelings and emotions. Yeah. Right. And I believe what we suffer from is some kind of a soul sickness.
So I think my biggest problem is like just like keeping shit bottled in. You know what I mean? Even like yesterday, we're driving back with the dog, and like this is like shaking our whole world up. I know some people might think it's stupid, but it's a big deal. Like I'm leaving my wife on Monday to go to work, and she's got to deal with 6 animals, 3 dogs, 3 cats. And I'm driving back like thinking, how the hell are we going to fucking pull this off? And she's like, why aren't you saying anything? I didn't know how to say what I was feeling. You know what I mean? I was feeling like super fucking overwhelmed. And that happens with, with school, with work, with everything. Like I get overwhelmed and I don't say anything. Yeah. That's one of my biggest problems.
Well, because we're also like so ingrained, like these habits aren't just going to die today.
Yeah.
Right? And no, what's nuts is like, I can talk shop with you and a dude at a meeting, but like when it comes to my own wife at my own house, it doesn't come naturally.
It's tough sometimes.
And, I got to do things to work on that. And even with my kids, so what we start doing, and we go back and forth, and I got an idea from somebody else, is we do like a mini 10-step together as a family at the end of the night. We start checking in. And
that's perfect.
And that's why like my Angelina's 6 and Shawnee's pretty much like just naked with a baseball glove. But he's only 2, he'll turn 3. He's an animal. And but like they're a part of it, and you just ask them questions and do all that, and then have them comfortable talking. Because at the end of the day, what we're dealing with too with these kids coming up with the phones and shit is like the everyday art of conversation is lost.
It's gone.
And they're not bad kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've coached high school kids who I love. These kids I love. That like when I give them rides to practice or whatever it was, like they wouldn't talk to me. Mm. And like they know like my story, and I'm pretty open and honest about all of them. But like it's pulling teeth, man.
Yeah.
Right. Even like my daughter, when I pick her up from school, how was school today? What'd you do? Nothing.
Of course.
Nothing.
Of course.
And we want answers. We want
try to pull it out of
them.
them.
Just like talk and what happened. Well, whatever. Yeah. And it's weird though, right? Like that doesn't come naturally to me with the girl I'm most comfortable with in the world.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because I'm just around her all the time. I don't know.
We went on a date one night, my wife and I. I was working at Princeton for a company, 400 guys on the job. I had 3 guys working under me. It was nonstop chaos every day, like to the point where you go to work the next day, you can't even see the previous day call log. That's how busy it was. So I had a bright idea, like I'm going to drive her. We're going to go out to eat in Princeton. I'm going to show her this fucking job. And what I didn't realize, I wasn't talking for like the whole ride. And she's like, you realize it's been 25 minutes and you haven't said one word? And I'm like, you know what I'm thinking about? And I start rattling off all these things at work, like this and this and this. And she said, that's what you're thinking about? I feel bad for you. Yeah. And I'm like, I fucking know. So I showed her the job, and she kind of understood like why it was so consuming my brain. But like it's hard for me to shut that shit off when I'm not at work. Like, I can deal with all the stress at work. But I can deal with it Monday through Friday. When it's time for like date night on Saturday or like a Sunday to hang out with my wife, it fucking consumes me, bro. I just bought a book the other day, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. Because my buddy recommended it to me.
It's all small stuff.
It's all bullshit. It doesn't even matter.
No, it's crazy, right? Like I read that book a long time ago, and but it's still, if it ain't happening to me, it ain't happening.
Yeah.
And that's just where you're at with it. What helps me with stress and anxiety a lot is actually to-do list. And I'm an old school kid. When I got sober, like what I reverted back to is what I used to do in high school, pen and paper, composition books. That's 13 years later. I still got composition books in my backpack. And
no shit.
This podcast was one of them. I got to write it down.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And there's nothing like a layup. Like, you put it like Tuesday's trash. I put trash there because I get to cross it off the list.
Yeah.
All right, dude, make sure you get that.
It's funny. I just read the part where you can't when you die, you'll die with a basket that's not empty. It's in the book, right? So like your to-do list never ends. Yeah, but the fact that you get to cross things off and enjoy the process is what matters, not finishing the to-do list.
A lot of people do it on their phone, and I just I'm okay with the phone. It's whatever, but I still like pen to paper, old school stuff to like where it just what I went back to and stayed with now for over a decade.
Well, because it works for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that honestly will help. I think alleviate some stress and anxiety for people because it's like tangible evidence right in front of you. Get it done, cross it off. Yeah. Cross it off. Do that. And and again, everybody finds their niche, whatever they're trying to do. And we're all in the same boat though. You know what I mean? Like, so even for a dude like you, 6.5 months sober, like what's different this time?
For me?
Yeah.
So when I went to rehab this last time, nothing was bad financially. Like I wasn't, other than me feeling like a piece of shit at work, I knew I wasn't going to lose my job. It was just hard to tell them that I had to go to rehab, but I knew I was safe. I even knew my wife wasn't going to leave me. But dude, what I put her through, and obviously what I put myself through, I'd never done some of these things before. I was a horrible, horrible husband. My therapist talks about it, like just getting her to believe my lies day in and day out is a form of mental abuse. I never thought of it like that. I just felt so fucking low and so painful and so empty inside. I never felt like that before. Like what I was doing, like going dumb shit, going to the tobacco store, coming like the Kratom, the dumbest shit ever.
Yeah, I never even heard of it.
Getting fucking perks off a deaf guy in South Philly, FaceTiming him on the way there. Like I feel like I reached my bottom like spiritually. I wasn't connected to anything or anyone for so long. And my nephews, my daughter, my wife, I always had somebody I felt like I was connecting with, even when I was drinking and getting high. But I had no want or desire to be around anybody, and it scared me, bro. It scared me. Like I left her and went down the shore, and didn't give a fuck for like 2 weeks straight, and then it finally hit me after I sent like a nasty text message to everybody. My sister's like, "I think you should go away," and I did, and it was just the right time. I never felt that pain in my entire life, bro. The pain was bad.
Yeah, but you got sober before, right? There was bottoms and all that kind of stuff. So like, obviously you got time. So what worked? There's stuff that worked, but there's also like, well, what didn't work? What didn't you do? Is there any kind of glaring evidence there?
Well, it's 100% meetings. It's a fact.
Okay.
It's a fact. Like I made a commitment to her before I left to get a therapist and make 90 and 90. And then, halfway through the 90 and 90, I'm like, I think I can pull this off for at least a year. Because I want to go. Like before I never wanted to go. Like, I don't know if it's necessity or want, or maybe a mixture of both, but I know I need to go and I want to go, and that never aligned, and now it does. But the meetings is 100%, for me, the biggest thing, and getting a new sponsor, a guy that wasn't my friend. First thing he said was, before we do anything, just call me every day, and read the green card every morning. And it took me like a couple weeks to get dialed in with that 100%, but I did. I think it was just me trying to buck the system. So like these things I never did before. I had a sponsor that was a friend. I never was consistent with meetings, never even thought about doing a 90-90. I think I never had a real foundation.
Did you ever go through the 12 steps before?
I went through the 12 steps when I had the year and a half sober, and I felt good about it. But then I got engaged and I planned a relapse 6 months prior. I just think.
Have you ever taken anybody else to the steps too?
No.
And that's like a lot of this stuff I think, like you can always look at them steps too. And because like, at the end of the day, even meeting, I'm a daily attendance, at meetings. It's, it's hard now with a 3-year-old, 6-year-old, and make maybe 2 a week if I can, and balance it. I want to make more. I love it because there's something spiritual that happens when one alcoholic talks to another alcoholic. A counselor I worked with called it the phenomenon of identification.
Okay.
I can relate to these people, man.
Yeah.
Like, thank God. Like, I'm not like, I used to think I was so different. And once you realize, and like, dude, you just belong, right? Monkey see, monkey do. The hard part is convincing yourself you're a monkey.
Right.
And it's like, dude, you got to do what they're doing.
Well, before I would find reasons that I thought were valid to not go to meetings. right? And then that would be my excuse to not go, and that would turn into 1 to 2 to 3 days of not going. Now it's like basically under any and all conditions, I go. Therapy, Marlton, New Jersey, 7 o'clock at night, but I've been going to the 12 Keys at 5:30. All right, so I got to cut out at 6:20 to make the therapy, but I go. You know what I mean? So like that was hard for me at first too. Like, do I leave the meeting early? Do I not leave the meeting? Well, you know, I'm going to therapy from a meeting. I think it's not the end of the world. So like that would be a reason for me not to go to a meeting before. Now that like down the shore with my wife, I go to the Ocean City meeting on Saturdays. I go to the Linwood meeting on Sundays. There's like no excuse now. It's like it's a priority, and I never made it a priority.
Yeah. So yeah, you weren't kind of even all in.
No.
Again. Yeah. So like I was, my thing was always, the obvious answer for me was I never got involved with the 12 steps. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like I'm a big 1, 2, 3 guy. All right, that's cool. And it's like, you know, when you get down to like the intimate process, it's like, I'll make more coffee. I'm not doing that. I'm like, you know, what's that guy? You know, I'm good. Like that's good for you. You're sick. I'm a little different. And you don't realize you're doing that until you stay sober. And you actually do the deal. Like there's everybody, but that's what I think with these relapse, they're our best teacher, right? And that's the thing is like until the pain gets great enough, like people give themselves credit, like, oh, I got out of my own way. Like I didn't. The pain just got great enough to where I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Mm-hmm. What do I got to do to stay stopped? What do I got to do to stay sober? And looked at all this kind of stuff and thank God for it. Because it was just, I was at that point, like and my sponsor said, you know, do me a favor. Like if I'm telling you to do certain things, like, don't go scratching your head wondering why you got drunk and high again, bud. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's no secret handshake. Like, you got to do this. And it's like, okay. You know, and like, it wasn't comfortable.
I was just going to say that. Like, my sponsor told me to start listening to the Joe and Charlie tapes. And I'm like, fuck. But I did, right? And then he told me to get a commitment, and then I did. And so I asked him about the steps, and he's like, what, are you in a fucking rush? Yeah, so I'm like, all right, I'll just follow his lead with that.
And I know you're sponsored. I know you're in good hands.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
But and that's why there's different processes, how fast, how slow you do all this kind of stuff, and it's just no, I'm good. That's the thing is like it doesn't matter. Like I think it's a race, right? But there's 2 key differences. Doesn't matter the speed. Doesn't matter if we run or walk or crawl or jog or sprint. It's like we got to continue. I got to continue this way. Right? Because like I know behind me is no good, and I don't stay still. I'm either going towards a drink or away from one, so I got to keep going. And there's no finish line. It's the old school like you know education without the graduation, right? The moment I think I got this, I'll put it in a glass and drink it.
Yeah.
So I always got to remain teachable, and then thank God for the good old timers like a dude that you got like, and that's what I always say is like yo remain approachable, because there's people in like there's assholes. Yeah. It's crazy where it's just like there's nothing attractive about that to me. Not that you're an asshole to me, it's you're an asshole to new people.
Right. It's fucked. I've seen that.
Yeah, it's like I don't get that. Like I don't understand that. Like I didn't get sober for that. Like I want to help that dude. But also like some of them do serve their purpose and protect groups, because there's a lot of bullshit and nonsense that comes into there too, where it's just like, no, there's rules to follow. Yeah. Like certain rules, like even like you're not allowed to curse. And they're like, man, what's that got to do with sobriety? Well, it's a rule.
It's a rule.
That's all it is.
They have that at the 12
It's a rule. That's all it is. And it's just like, all right, I can't curse you. And that's not a bad thing.
No, it's just structured to the meeting.
If you're not willing to change your language, what else aren't you willing to change? They used to hit me up with that down at the South Philly group. And it's just like, okay. You know what I mean? I'm a drug addict. You go down to a certain place where it's like you can only talk about alcohol.
You can't even say ibuprofen.
Okay. They'll light you up.
I've gotten that before.
Yeah, we say clean. Dishes are clean. Like, okay, bro, whatever. Yeah. I don't care. I'm not offended by it, especially younger dudes coming in. Like they're probably not waking up with a bottle of Jack next to their bed. You know, they're more than likely, popping the chiclets, doing all that kind of shit. So I don't take offense. But it's also good because like here's the thing, like traditionally, right? Like if me and you were talking about what we really wanted to talk about and opiates, all that other and this other dude comes in there and he's a stone cold alcoholic. We're talking about all this other shit. I don't belong here.
It's gonna be turned off.
And that's his group. That's where he absolutely belongs. And that's why you got to respect all that kind of stuff. And if you really need to, and that's what they said. Like you could talk about whatever you want to talk about. You just can't do it here during the meeting. Like, okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right? Oh, no problem.
But like everything you're saying, it was like, I was nervous to ask you to do this because you've seen me relapse a million times, and but I thought to myself like, all right, like you're like Chop says, you're doing the deal, and I feel like I'm doing it. That's why I reached out. I would have never reached out if I couldn't look you in the eye and say I'm doing all the things I say I'm doing, because like you've seen me flounder and be half in and fail. And that's why I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to ask them.
I honestly never knew your story. I just knew you were sober. And then, I remember seeing you at a year and a half, whatever, and you were sober. So I don't know what your AA story was. That's why I like asking questions to get to know who you are too. And like what happened. And then we get to tell these listeners like, well, this worked, this didn't work. I did, and like maybe they don't trip over that stone, right? Like maybe they don't trip over my stone because it's like you can do whatever you want, and that's what, like even getting sober. I got involved with coaching again, and I did soccer and Catholic League and talked to these kids. I'm like, I don't preach to them. Like they're not going to listen to that. I just tell you my nightmare, and it's like you could do whatever you want. Honestly, I don't care, but it's like the consequences are yours as well. So like that's the thing. Growing up in the neighborhood, that's what I always tell people like. I athletically peaked at probably like 19 years old. If you missed the senior season at Roman Catholic, like you missed like my best, right? Even my first training camp at Cabrini College, 20 pounds heavier with a broken hand. And it's like alcohol wasn't on my radar as the problem then, right? But like if you look back and like don't go scratching your head because here's the deal, like I athletically peaked at like 18, 19 years old. Yeah, because I was a regular drinker by the time I was 14 or 15.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Friday, Saturday nights. And even my buddy Joey described it to me before, like Friday and Saturday nights, right? And hopefully like there's a younger audience listening to this kind of stuff and you're doing whatever and you want to, take a sport seriously and you're still doing okay and I did too. But here's the thing is it's like Friday, Saturday nights, hungover on Sunday, show up to school Monday, talking shit about whatever happened over the weekend, take a test on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday we got to start planning the party. How we getting it, who's getting it, where we going, and it's just like it dominated
everything.
My social atmosphere since forever.
Yep.
And
the people we hung around with, we didn't hang around together, but everything we did was socially accepted.
It's all the same.
So crushing up something on the table in front of all your boys and the girls, like they were doing it too.
Yeah, there was almost like a bragging rights behind it. Like the way we came up, it was you didn't look at anything as abnormal when 90% of the guys you're running around with are doing the same shit. Yeah. Right? And like, but there's dudes that could have walked away from that. And I wasn't one of them. Right? Like there was a time in my life, like drinking, drug and all that, I could have walked away, but why? And then there came a time in my life where I had to and I couldn't. Right? And it's just like I lost the ability of choice, man.
Yeah.
Right? Going home from Christmas break my senior year in college, I remember being like, I thought I had the flu. It's like, dude, I was withdrawing.
Really?
Yeah, I was withdrawing.
And like, you didn't even know at the moment?
No, it was Christmas break and just kind of just thought, I got the flu, throwing out a little diarrhea, all that kind of stuff. And, graduated May 05. I'm in my first AA meeting December 05.
Really?
Yeah. And again, it's just like what happened? I don't know. Like I drank and I drugged and I loved the way it made me feel.
Well, I mean, you seem like such a tough mentally tough dude, but like, and it's a disease of feelings and emotions. Like, how do you handle I call it the dark time. How do you handle the dark times? Like I was texting the other day, not necessarily about this, but like being sad for no reason, or depressed for no reason, or going to bed happy and waking up sad for no fucking reason. That happens to me, occasionally.
I think you're still early on in sobriety. It's normal.
That's my thing.
Right? And that's the thing is that you need to stay empty with all that kind of shit. And it could happen to me, and I remember the biggest wrench in my life sober was kids. It was tough. And it was the biggest blessing. Right? But I'm a dude that's going to meetings and involved with the gym and doing all this stuff and always on the go and then whatever. And then I have a baby, and it's like a little baby land anchor, right?
Right?
Now you're going nowhere. You're staying in. I'm taking 3 naps a day. The baby's laying down, but it's like, but I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing.
Right.
My job is to make sure I provide and keep this kid alive and all that kind of stuff.
And you're sober, and you have to do this.
It was a hard adjustment for me, man. And you feel guilty about it on some levels and all that kind of shit.
How'd you work through it?
Counseling.
Yeah.
I remember driving with tears in my eyes, like I'm gonna fucking kill myself, man. And then there's no plans to do that, but a thought like that, dark thought, and talked to my wife, talked to my buddy, my sponsor, and all that kind of stuff, and made commitments to go see a therapist who I see to this day.
Yeah,
and
that changed my life this time.
Well, the best part about this dude is that I went to him and just kind of say a prayer, left it up to God, made sure I went to like this old head dude that was semi-retired, in his basement. Still go to him. After the first, like I got there, I was so wound up, and I'm like, I'm probably, and I moved. So there was a lot of changes, and change doesn't have to be bad. It's just change. It throws me off my beam. And I'm talking to this guy, and I'm like, dude, listen, we're not going to have like this Goodwill Hunting moment where you're hugging me.
You're telling him how it's going
to
be.
Yeah, where you're hugging me and telling me it's not my fault. He's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And like I was
Hi, I'm Dr. Steve, by the way.
He's like, yeah, well, okay, dude. Yeah, and then like the dude never put on shoes. He wore white sweats. I still to this the same stuff, right? And I helped him off the couch, and he farted. And I'm like, this is my guy. You know what I mean? This is the dude I want to go to. And it's just kind of like I think it's the healthy people in life that are ones constantly seeking out help. Like that's the thing. Like just because like I'm sober and work with other people, but at the same time, like I still gotta, stay in touch with certain people in my life and the sobriety that I built up, because it's like left to my own devices, I'm no good.
Yeah.
And I struggle with, antidepressants and getting off of that stuff. And that's been a journey too, man.
Really?
Like, oh yeah. Nasty. Because it really, when I relapsed I went to the rehab in November of 2010 around Thanksgiving. Came off of Zoloft, whatever I was on at the time, and I'm like, I'm not even fucking depressed. I don't know why I'm on this shit, but like, didn't know doctor recommended it. I just was like, I'm off it, and there was a state of nothingness there.
Just empty inside.
When I was like 3-4 months sober, my mom came up to the house and she was like in a fetal position, like crying, like. And I'm like, but I'm sober, I'm okay. But I had no human reaction to what was going on. That's not like
you went cold turkey off the antidepressants.
I think I don't know.
Plus, you're only 3 months sober. It's a lot.
4 months sober, and what helps me a lot is working out. And I broke my foot. I was playing like in some men's indoor soccer league with my little brother, and I went against the boards, and my big toe popped out through my shoe.
Oh, God,
it was like giving you a thumbs up, and they're like, "Just get back in the game, you bitch." I'm like, "Oh, I gotta go to the hospital."
Yeah.
And they had to like pull it up, out and down. Like I said to people, like, "You ever hear Goofy falling off a cliff?" Like that.
That's what it sounded like.
Yeah. Like, oh shit. But like that was the dark pit, and then again like relapse soon after. During a time where I relapsed, got back on antidepressants, and it scared me enough to stay on them for a long time. And then until a couple different things, never really wanted to be on it, but like was scared to like mess with all that kind of shit. And on the lowest dose, whatever, it wasn't bothering me. I didn't ever want to chop it up and sniff it up or any of that shit. But what bothered me is there was a kid that died. My buddy Nicky passed away young, and I was in the receiving line with my buddies, and his grandma was there. And she's like, at the casket, and she's like, who's going to tell me that they love me at the end of the night now that Nicky's not here? And it was like I was ordering a sandwich at the drive-thru. And it freaked me out to the point where I'm like,
you didn't feel a thing.
I gotta get off this shit. Damn. Like, and I told my, and it's been a journey since then. And, probably been about like 6 months, 7 months. There's a couple different things where I start taking like a DHEA, a hormone, and this is all stuff like I don't recommend this to anybody. I'm not a doctor. I can tell you that I lost a lot of faith in like Western medicine over the last 3 to 4 years with everything going on with all the crazy shit. But there's also a lot of great stuff in there too. I don't want to like get into that and taint like the sobriety aspect of it, but it was my journey, and like, and that's the thing. Like I get emotionally moved a lot now, and like I almost feel like I'm like kind of coming back to life.
Yeah.
Maybe to life the first time.
Well, it's great
time.
feeling things, like whether it's like
whether it's high or low.
Yeah, I agree.
Right, like whether it's high or low, man. Like you need to feel that.
Yeah,
like it's normal. It's normal, and like what you're going through, like, dude, I always surprised. Like you don't get to live the way that we lived and come out of it unscathed, bro. Like you're gonna have to pay a price with some of this shit.
And that's what I think. Like when I was in treatment, one of the things my wife was concerned about was. I didn't realize this until I got the treatment. You talking to different counselors, and I guess they said I had like a perfectionist mentality. And then when I fail, I can't take the failure, and that kind of like precipitates the process that's leading up to a relapse. So like this time around, like you said, you hear things and they click in a different way. So the first time I had a struggle, and I got through it, and I talked to my therapist about it, and he called it money in the bank, and I'm like, that makes sense to me. Like I got through something, so I can do it again. You know what I mean? I can get through something again. Well, because I didn't stop going to meetings. I talked to people about it, and like magically, I didn't fucking pick up a drink because I was sad for a couple of days. You know what I mean? So it's like these are things I'm learning that I never gave myself time to process before.
Yeah, and I think a lot of what we go through, right? It's always like it lives in the dark, dude. It dies in the light.
Yeah.
But like, it's hard to get them words out sometimes
Yeah.
to be like, because like the hardest words you ever had to utter was like, dude, I need help.
Yeah.
And like, really, just because you're so like, I have to do that on a daily basis.
Yeah.
With a lot of different people, man, and just kind of let them know, like, and sometimes I can't identify what's up or what's going on.
That's something I have a hard time with too. Like I can't necessarily put my finger on some of the reasons why I feel certain ways sometimes. And like you said it to yourself, like, 6.5 months sober, like you're not unscathed. You know what I mean? You've been drinking and getting high for the better part of a decade.
Dude, we chemically did a great job of ruining our body, our brain. Like it just fires differently than other people. Like that's why I really found working out. I never did it for the look. I don't care. Like it really is for the up here, man.
Absolutely.
The mental aspect of it all. To where I'm like, I remember being in rehab, in detox, playing volleyball and running around. And it's like, well, my legs are going to shake. I better give them a reason to be tired.
Yeah.
Right? Like I know what it's like, dude, early sobriety with that restless goddamn leg. And that's always so. Like you're not able to trust a fart. You don't know if you're going to fucking sneeze or cry. Like I get it, dude. Like you're saying you're crying. You're like, I don't even know I'm crying. I have no idea. But like, and that's just like all your feelings and emotions are probably firing at all different levels.
Different ways,
it's like where was I for the and that's the thing, and I can go to the neighborhood bar, and that's what I say, and pull up a stool and go sit with like some of the homies from whenever, and they're gonna be like, yo, where you been? I haven't seen you in 6 months. Right? Like, dude, it's been fucking 13 years. But that's the thing, it's like, because nothing's happening, and at the same time, everything's happening.
Yeah.
I remember going in and out during this period of time and speaking for a guy. They did it differently down this group to where, like, when you celebrate, he had a 1-year anniversary, and he got an old-time speaker, dudes with years, and I had 90 days, and he got me to speak for him. And the next time I was able to draw a sober breath, that dude was celebrating 7 years.
Oh, man.
And I had a panic attack at the meeting. I'm checking my pulse. I'm going, oh, my God. Like, I thought it was just, like, maybe 6 months, maybe a year, but, it's like...
That's how much time went by.
6-7 years later, you're like, what happened, dude? And that's the thing, because it's like everything happened.
Yeah.
But nothing. Like it's a gnarly experience when you're going through all that shit, dude. And that's why I'm like, dying would have been a vacation. Like you think them dudes down Kensington Ave want to live like that?
No.
Right? Like, dude, it's just like, and that's what we always look at. And I'm so tired of the people that come in like and have like a bravado, like, oh, I overdosed 9 times and got like they don't care.
No.
Like, it's like an asshole, right? It's just like, and you're looking at the physical aspect of death. But long before that, right? There's a nun on tape, Sister Maurice from the Bronx, and she talks about the death of morals and values and self-esteem and self-worth and relationships. Like everything became gray, man. Like dying would be a vacation compared to living like this. I don't live like this no more, right? And that's what I've always related to. Like there's worse things than dying. And as I said, drinking and drugging today, and like not dying but living.
Yeah, I mean, like I couldn't enjoy a fucking thing.
No,
you know what I mean. My wife and I saved, like, and I say this, and I don't know how it's gonna come across, but my wife and I were able to save money to get a property down the shore. The rates were great. We worked it out with our house, and like we're making settlement, and I'm like, I know I'm going to get high at some point this weekend. I just got to figure out how and when to do it. I couldn't even enjoy the fact that my wife put all this hard work together to accomplish this thing, and we made it happen. And within 24 hours, I'm high down the shore. You know what I mean? You just life sucking everyone's experience around me, dude. It's just...
Because you always think, like, if I get this, if I get the job, if I get, and I bought a house in Parkwood in the middle of an addiction, and all I did is spend more money on gas and hide the mortgage. You know what I mean? It's like, as I said, I had a basketball bank account. Like, I would bounce the checks, and the banks would dunk on me. Because every time I was high, I wanted to pay the bills and be sober, and then every time I was sober, I had to go get high.
Yeah.
Like I remember my mom and my wife grabbing like and like tears in her eyes and being like, why do you keep doing this and choose over us? And in my head, I thought like, you're not even in the contest.
Yeah, it doesn't even
count. It's a landslide victory, dude. Like I don't have the choice anymore. Like that's the thing. By the end of like what I was doing, it was around this time, man. My niece was born. She just turned 13 the other day, 5/17. My nephew, my godson, was born 5/25, and I went away and got sober on 6/3. During the time I would give my wife my cell phone, I gave her my Mac card. She put a TAC code on my own account, all this kind of shit. Because every time I was high, I wanted to be sober. And then every time I was sober, I had to go get high.
Yeah,
and like when I was high, I would wrap myself out and tell her how to catch me and do all this kind of. It was.
Yep.
I was. Dude,
I would do the same.
Dude, I was writing checks to drug dealers, writing checks. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and being like, oh, in the memo, happy birthday. I'm like, well, what the fuck is this? I'm like,
that's so crazy.
Nuts.
I would tell my wife the same thing. I would tell her why I relapsed, and if I do this, I'm probably already relapsed. Like just signs to catch me. Like if she asked me how many days I had sober and I couldn't spit it out instantaneously, I'm probably high.
That's usually a telltale sign of your early sobriety. Like how many days you got, and they get a calculator. Like what the fuck you need a calculator for, dude? Yeah, but they got the apps and all that. But a lot of people are like, oh, I think but like, dude, you know, right away, because
dude.
that's the time doesn't mean anything. Like yes, the fuck it does. Yeah, it does. Usually people who say that don't have any time. But here's the difference, right? And this is something that I would love to say to you is it's like, you know, because you can go back, I should have this amount of time and this many years. I did all that kind of stuff, right? But long-term sobriety is the goal. And this is something I talked about with my sponsor, right? Like we want to stay sober and remain sober a day at a time. But like what's more important than that? Like improve your quality of life, man. Right? Because there's dudes with 50 years, I wouldn't ask directions to the bathroom where I'm like, dude's an asshole. So like, he's got time, he's sober, but like not what I'm looking for. And so what's more special than that is like there's dudes who I've messed with 6.5 months sober where I'm like, oh, he's on to something. He's doing a deal here, and he's trying, and he's working with whatever he's doing, and that's what it is. It's like I could tell you this, like my life is a lot more special and meaningful sober than it was ever drunk,
100%,
ever high,
100%,
right? Like drinking, drugging, like I did it because I loved the way it made me feel, until that stopped working, right? Like the feelings and the relationships I have today. No drink or drug ever gave me that.
Yeah.
Ever. It gave me a pseudo effect for a long time and until that got taken away and where it became a necessity. Where as much as I was got to go get something to eat and take a shit and go, like I was
you had to.
doing.
Yeah.
It would dictate if I was going to work that day.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
You know?
And you're like just the planning involved with making sure you had what you needed to have to get through whatever.
Which is crazy, right? Because you're a guy like you, all other aspects of your life, you're successful. You do pretty well, right? Mm-hmm. When it comes to this, man, it's like, it's your master.
Yeah,
master.
I remember like
time and time again.
In treatment, a guy came back after like X amount of months and he's like, his words, like, king alcohol got me again. And I'm thinking like, man, I never thought about it like that. Like it was the fucking king.
Yeah.
Drugs and alcohol were the king.
I remember during a period of time where I decided I was just going to drink again. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it was like, shit hits the fan, I'll just go back.
Yeah.
And you know, if I just stay away from this, I swore off drugs, all that kind of shit. I was able to pass like drug tests to get into the fire department, and you know, I was #1 overall physical fitness in the academy, Commissioner's Leadership Award, the great almighty I am. Right within months of getting placed in my thing, within a year, I'm captain of the Malverne's volleyball team. You know what I mean? Like, what the just happened, dude?
Yeah.
Right. It was my master time and time again.
Yeah.
The great almighty. I think I am. It was like, no, it was because I was sober-ish enough to actually do some shit and actually like focus because I was in like this system that like within months of getting placed at a busy company, you know, I really found out the way like, you know, so I was drinking and I swore it off. It was during the Phillies, 2008. I snorted a line of Coke on a rooftop. I found perks later that night and I couldn't draw a sober breath for about 2.5 more years.
Yeah, dude, it's so crazy. I didn't realize how similar our like half measured bouts of sobriety were because like the times that I would get sober, I'd put all this cool shit together, which on the outside seemed like I'm okay, you know, which put me in probably like a similar spot to you to the time like now where I actually feel like I am all in and committed and could take advantage of all the half measured attempts, like all the relapses I can learn from. Like I'm blessed to even have that situation. Like my wife should have left me 100 fucking times.
And we find the best women.
Yeah.
Right. We find the best women, and you know, if you stay sober a day at a time, like what you try to pay it back. Right. You try to like that unconditional love she showed you and the grace. Yeah, you're right. We don't deserve it, but but take advantage of it. Stop making it about you and just be like, dude, it's a blessing.
Yeah.
And the grace is like something you didn't really deserve, man. It's a grace from God. It's like, let me just. All right, and the key word there is try, because relationships are work and they're tough, and you know with you know everything else going on, or animals or kids, like it's dude, we're all trying to just figure it out and balance it and do the deal here.
Well, a couple of things I think you asked me earlier. What's different this time? It's a couple of things. Like one, I learned how to pray. Before I would just wake up and say the third step in Serenity prayer, half asleep. Right now, I heard a couple guys talk about how they do it, and kind of made sense to me. So now I just continue to ask for the willingness, the discipline, and I ask to kind of get disconnected from how did my therapist put it? Because this was something this codependence I have on external factors. So I ask for help with that every morning and every night, like to help break this codependence I have on what I perceive as external factors that don't really matter, and the willingness to keep being involved in AA and sobriety, and the discipline to get through the tough times. And what I've learned now is like every 24 hours is fucking different.
Yeah.
It's fucking every time, like no matter what, like you could leave here and I could go to bed happy and I might not have a great day tomorrow, and that's it. But like, so I've learned those, like that's two of the things that I've learned this time around.
Well, because it's not about feeling good. It's about doing good.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like the way I was taught is like, you don't do good to get good. You do good because you're supposed to.
You're supposed
Sometimes
to.
you do good and you eat shit.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the thing, like what's it got to do with sobriety? Nothing. What could it have to do with sobriety? Everything.
Yeah.
It's
like
all
you said.
related, dude.
It is all
Everything's
related.
related because it's, again, everyday living, feelings and emotions. And like, here's the, like, I'll be honest, like if I don't know what I'm doing on most days, especially like being a father and shit. I'm like, I don't know. I just know I better keep this little dude alive, this girl alive, love them, feed them, provide best I can, like all that kind of shit. And just kind of, I can tell you this, I know without sobriety, I ain't nothing.
Yeah.
I'm not a husband. I'm not, a father. I'm not a son. I'm not a part of, I'm not a brother. And it's just like, I don't mean to become that, but like, people share all the time, oh, if I drink or drug again, I'm going to lose my family. And there's a dude down the group used to say like, I don't want them.
Yeah, they're in the way. They're in the way anyway.
And I don't mean to become that, but that's what happens.
Yeah.
And thank God, like, because of the good teachers, and I'm forever grateful for these guys because like they always talk about how their grandkids never seen them drink or drug and all that. And, like,
I love when I hear that
dude,
shit.
my kids are never going to see me drink or drug because of them guys.
Yeah.
Right? Because of like the way we were living, came in and had the good teachers. Like they don't ever have to do that, man. A day at a time, if I keep doing what I'm doing. And like nobody ever fell off the middle of the roof. Right? Like I ain't got to get on them fucking edges, bro. Like not that it can't collapse onto you, but like, and that's the thing, like that happens a lot of times. People want to flirt around the edge and shit. And it's like, why? Like people get away from this. Oh, I got kids. Oh yeah, you're the first dude I know with kids, dude. Yeah. Oh, I got a job. Oh yeah, the first dude with a career.
Yeah.
I hear you. Can't make meetings. Can't do, okay. And my thing is like, it's such an honor and a privilege to try to pay that back to somebody else, right? Like to be a part of that. And it's like, I've always loved what it had to offer, but like I never stayed sober, right? Like, and I couldn't give away what I didn't have. And it's like I always say, like you can't save another man from drowning when you don't know how to swim.
Yeah, good point.
So like now, like I'm in the deal, and that's the best part. And what you're going to be able to do when you start working with others, going through the process the proper way, is like you become a do what I do guy. Like, do this. Like, why? Did you ever do it? Yeah, I did it. It's uncomfortable. It sucks.
It works.
Like even that same stuff that handcuffed me for a long time. It's the same stuff I talk about when I sit down with another dude. And it's not like, because it's like, here's my shit, give me your shit. It's like, here's my shit, do whatever you want with it. It don't own me no more. Right? It's like, I've seen it on Facebook. It's like, it's trying to like you're bringing up old shit. It's like, it's trying to rob a house I no longer live in. Like you're not going to get me. And that's just the blessing of it all is like, I don't know how good I'm doing on any given day, but I know I'm not that guy.
Yeah. Well, it's like, it's so much more than, just showing up to meetings every day, like you kind of hinted at, and my sponsor said that to me too. Like you got to get with the herd, and you got to get involved. And like I remember, I went to the business meeting last month, and I was nervous. Well, I went to the meeting, and then I stayed for the business meeting, and I was nervous. I asked old head Joe from Octus, I'm like, how do I get the Friday at Octus commitment? He's like, fucking raise your hand. I'm thinking like he's gonna do me a favor, right? Like because I'm asking, he's like, just raise your hand when it comes up. So naturally, as soon as he's like, Octus 5 o'clock topic meeting, I'm like, I'll take it. You know what I mean?
It's funny, ain't it?
Yeah. And then my first, it was the first Friday in May, and I remember I got there at like 4:15. He was already there before me. I'm like, fuck, I should have got here earlier. So, and I was like nervous doing it because like you're doing it.
That's a good energy to have.
Yeah,
right?
and it was an honor for me to even be able to sit with those guys and be involved instead of just bitching, sharing about whatever. You know what I mean? Like
now you're a part of it.
Yeah,
like
now I have a home group,
like,
and I never had a home group before.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff you never did before that now. All right, well, and that's the thing is like, but like stop. Like now we stop figuring it out by like, going back out and trying to like, dude. Because here's the thing, like until the pain gets great enough, but the way we drink and drug, it's like hopefully you live long enough to see the pain, because people don't. Right, and that's just the reality, and it's not going to scare anybody. It's not meant for that, but it's like that's the reality of it. We bury beautiful dudes every single day, Every single day. My boy Ricky, who was one of my homies from South Philly, spoke for me on a Wednesday with 7 months sober, and he was dead on Sunday.
No shit.
He had 7, 8 months sober at the time. And I remember being like, and that's my like, dude, he was a beautiful kid, man. And we bury good dudes every day. And just because you're a good dude don't mean you get sober. There's assholes and idiots that get sober every day.
Yeah.
And it's just like, they're sober during the fight. So like, and that's the thing with like, even like, I'll go back and try some more controlled, like the way you drink, the way I drink, there's nothing normal about it.
Well, that's I think one of the positives I'm looking at now with sobriety is like I never wanted to just have a beer, and it's never going to be socially accepted to snort a line of coke before work on Tuesday.
Yeah, Well, that's,
so like these are things I'm more aware of now to even like smash the thought. And I haven't had an obsession or anything like that, but like to smash the thought, thinking it's even possible to be possible down the road. It's like, dude, you're never gonna be able to snort perks like a normal person. Like, what are you talking about?
Even you, like maybe that creeps in down the line, and that's why again, it lives in the dark, it dies in the light. Say that out loud. Like, oh, I think maybe grabbing a glass of wine. Like, when did you ever do that?
Yeah, never.
And that's worked. The thing is like, and people that like me drink again. They used to tell one or two things going to happen is either you're going to go more than likely find your drug of choice again, or you're going to become an alcoholic. Yeah, I'm a little different. You know what I mean?
I'm special.
Terminal uniqueness.
Yeah.
And it's okay with being unique, but like when it comes to this, it's like I better start blending in. I better stop comparing. Like, I'm not that dad. I'm not different here. Like, it's like, dude, it was like, I can relate. I got to identify with these people.
Did you have like dudes in your life or people in your life that were sober and in recovery like throughout this journey? Like, 'cause I had my dad and my sister, and I just, they never preached to me. But I wouldn't listen if they did anyway at the time. But like, did you ever have people in your life like that?
Yes, an aunt and uncle who used to take me in and help me like detox multiple times, took me in. They used to have like a shared area. We had rules and contracts and all this kind of shit. It's like, looking back, they're saints because I'm like, dude, you ain't fucking staying here. You know what I mean? But
I can't even see you being like that.
But that's
the crazy part of sobriety. Right?
The blessing, right? The blessing of it all is like, there's very few people in this world who get to say they live two lives.
Yeah. That's what I talked about with Rich Tape. I'm like, there's a part 1 and a part 2 to this thing. It's the chaos to sobriety, and it's the chaos after sobriety that gets you back to normal. It's fucking crazy.
And that's, like, you'll hear it in stories. When a guy comes in with 6.5 months, like, your message is going to be different than mine. Because, like, now it's like, I've been living sober for the last 13 years. And it's about life and ups and downs and, not that shit doesn't happen, and that's, my story is like, with the suicide stuff, like buried an aunt when I was coming up on my 2nd year of sobriety and stuff like that. And when tragedy hits, that's the thing now. It's like, it's not about me. It's not my tragedy. It's not my sadness, right? It's a shared sadness with family. So when you're there for family, that doesn't mean, stand there, be stoic, don't cry. It means laugh with them, cry with them, share stories. I was able to eulogize my aunt, comfort family member and friends at the casket, buried her with my 1-year coin because, my 2nd year anniversary was coming up. And the thing about all that is like, that's not a testament to me. That's a testament to the 12 steps and the men and women in it and God and being a man who's just like kind of showing up and was taught to do so. Mm-hmm. And you want to talk about the, sponsorship and shit like that? Like, my sponsor, that was the first time he was ever introduced to my mother. And my mom is now burying her 3rd sibling tragically, 2 from suicide, and her little brother, Larry, was killed by an off-duty cop when he was 13 years old. He was coming home from confession at St. Anne's, Sion Playground, Aramingo Lehigh. The cop was drunk, and he struck and killed him as a kid. Right, the old Irish Catholic way of it all that was like, just don't talk about it long enough, it'll go away. And they had to take all Larry's pictures down because it made Pop sad. All this like gnarly shit, right? It's pretty heavy. And my mom's now burying her 3rd sibling. My Uncle Tom killed himself when I was in 8th grade. He was over at my house the night before. We played games with the dude. I remember feeling like a lot of love for this guy for the first time. And he was an alcoholic. And like, he wasn't a bad guy. You just couldn't be around them by yourself. So we had the big Irish Catholic, I love you family, and kiss each other hello, goodbye. And I didn't have that with him. But I remember feeling like, I love this guy, you know what I mean, at that night. But I was also that kid who would be like, too cool for shit. Like, drop me off around the corner. I don't want my boys, like, dude, I'll give you a wedgie if you play that shit today. Like I will jack you up. My son, my daughter, I always tell my daughter was trying to like, I dropped her off at a birthday party yesterday. She's 6, right? She's trying to like, all right, Dad, I'm good. Like I just had to walk her to the door. I'm like, no.
Yeah,
like, listen, I will show up on your first date, right? If you like, don't do that to me. And then she's trying to like kiss me down there and stuff. I'm like, I just laugh a little bit, like, but I'll check you on that.
Yeah.
Even like the high school kids who I coach, like when they got dropped off, it's like, yo, did you thank your mom and dad? Did you give them a kiss? You say, and they used to look at me like I had 6 heads. But I'm like, I'm not letting you into practice until you do it. And it's just like, it's not to embarrass you, dude. It's like, let your, go show you who.
Well, you're just making them be better people, better human beings.
Who was I to be too cool for my mom and dad?
Yeah.
Right? So my Uncle Tom, I felt kind of corny that night. And I was like, I'll tell him tomorrow. And I never got the opportunity because that was the night my Uncle Tom killed himself. Right? And it was just like, damn it, like I couldn't get through that story without the tears in your eyes and all that kind of stuff, right? And it's not my fault. I knew all that, although I never blamed myself. And that's what, it's funny with suicide and stuff that happens. And I just spoke of that Nara, and I mean, and that's what I get to tell people today, like through a journey like this, I learned. And it's like, why as human beings, when that shit happens, like we go, what did I do wrong? What could have I done? Did I hug him enough? Did I yell too much? Because you try everything, right? And I always tell people at the end of the day, like, yo, if they're doing good today, you're taking credit for that. Like, you know what I mean? If they're working the deal and sober and you're going to be like, oh, that's because, like, well, why are you taking that on? Right? Like, when tragedy hits, it's like, dude, that's between them and their God.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with you. You know, and that's the blessing of it all, learning all this kind of stuff. So, you know, to round it all up, when my mom meets my sponsor, Scott, at the receiving line at this funeral, burying her 3rd sibling, tragically, right? An overwhelming feeling of like joy and happiness comes over her face because she gets to look at the dude that's been helping get her son back for the last 2 years.
Yeah, man, I can see
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Dude, like, it's like,
that's crazy.
That's the relationships that you build in this place, man. That's the sacredness of it all. Like, dude, like she's burying another sibling, and this overwhelming sense of joy is like she finally put a face to the name that's, you know, been helping me out.
Yeah.
You know, like you can't beat that, man.
No.
That's special, bro.
You know, it's like, it's crazy like that you're saying all that because like with my sobriety now, it's like, you know, I was in and out while my dad was sick. I had like 2 weeks sober when he died. And, you know, like I'm having a struggle with that. Like, I wish he could see me now. Wish he could see me now, you know, and,
what I believe is he does.
you know, it's hard for, I'm struggling with that.
Yeah.
I'm struggling with that. You know, like, cause I said to my sister, you know, like, was I a good son? I think I was. You know, I can't change it now. I mean, we were super close, very, very close, the closest father and son ever, if you ask me. But like, man, I could never get sober.
Yeah.
So like, I wasted so many opportunities to have. We weren't like an I love you father and son, but like
it was understood.
Yeah, we could talk. My wife would joke with me all the time. We could talk on the phone and say 20 words, but have said a million things.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So like, that sucks.
Yeah, and I guess it's also learned stuff, right? Like you have a daughter. How old's your daughter?
21.
Well, that's the thing, dude. Like, you know, I think what happens is even like being there for her, right? Like a lot of times, like my nephew was sober, 3 years old when I got sober. And I was there. I physically was there. I played the role, and like, I thought I was a good uncle. I wrestled with him and did all that when I showed up. But like mentally, emotionally, and spiritually checked out.
Yeah, same.
Right? Like,
same.
And that's the thing now with like your daughter, what you get to experience is like.
Well, our relationship did a total 180 because I couldn't lie to her this time.
Yeah.
You know, the first 2 times I went, she was a little kid. So this time, you know, she was 20. So I had to tell her the truth. And obviously, there's a podcast. So like we talked about my life before we started the podcast, but it just took a total 180, like the way we communicate, the way we talk. The only challenging part is I can't really discipline her right now.
Yeah, she's a grown woman.
She's like so, like, you know, I can't, like, I gotta kind of dance around how I suggest certain things because, you know, I bought that, like, you know what I mean. You know, years of being a drug addict and alcoholic, like, and being 21-year-old girl in 2024, the dots that she's connecting are the dots that she perceives to be reality. So like I can't argue with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I can't argue the way she feels. The only thing I can do is like you kind of said was I just gotta be available, be a good dude, be a good dad.
Yeah.
And like let the good times keep going.
As a member of the 12-step fellowship and shit like that. Like when you're talking about a 21-year-old daughter, I can relate to you with kids, but I can't relate to it. My daughter's 6. You know what I'm saying? Like, but that's the best part about shit. Like if you're really being honest with yourself, like the most genuine answer, like I could give a dude like you when you're asking me questions about whatever. It's like, I don't know. I have no idea. You know, because I'm like, I don't have any experience. Like, I don't think we're in the business of giving advice. We're in the business of experience.
Yeah, sharing
I have
experiences.
none.
Yeah.
I have nothing. Mine's 6. She just got dropped off at a princess party yesterday. I'm good. I don't want to hear that shit.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing. But like, well, listen, go around. Put it out there on the floor, and like there's going to be come up to you. Oh, this is what you need to do with your daughter. Like, why? You got any kids? Nah, I fucking hate kids. Like, what the fuck? What? You know, oh, this is what you need to do with your wife. Why? You married? Nah, I'm divorced 3 times. So it's like, well, what the fuck would I come to you for? But that's the thing. All we're really qualified to do is try to help somebody stay sober a day at a time.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm navigating, man. I'm figuring it out. Like, I think that there's 3 things that's special. I think that there's a peace of mind to all this kind of stuff.
That's the biggest thing.
And guess what? The reason why you probably have the most, I think the dudes that like really you want to help like get a sponsor with is dudes that are in like their first 3 to 4 years of sobriety a lot of times. You know why? Because they're on fire with this thing. They're doing the deal, and you can just tell, if they're doing it the right way, because it's like, the peace of mind happens when it's like I start centering in on others and realizing it's not about me, and like, staying in contact with these people, because where do normal people go that don't go to any of this?
That's the best
shit,
part about this program.
right?
That's the greatest part.
Like when people come to me, I'm like, I almost wish you were a drug addict or an alcoholic because I could take you here.
Yeah, it's
right?
fucking amazing.
Yeah, and that's the thing with the peace of mind. And the more I'm centered in and doing the deal and making meetings and helping, like, go figure, right? Like, I'm doing okay. I'm not worried about me and how I feel. I'm trying to help this guy. And there's a balance between all these different aspects and titles in life, right? Father, son, husband, brother, worker, whatever it is. And there's some work required behind all that kind of stuff. And that's the special thing is like, prayer is great, right? But don't miss the second part of that is like pray and row the boat. Like, and you're doing the deal and you're showing up and the 1s and 2s and keeping it simple. And then the third and final thing, like, and that's why I could do podcasts and talk like this, is like there's comfortability in my skin today, right? Like alcohol and drugs.
That's one of the biggest benefits sobriety gives me.
Yeah, because that's what drugs and alcohol, I think, provided for me for a long time.
Yeah.
Like it made me
fraudulent comfortability,
a pseudo effect. It was false, dude. Like you know what I mean? Like I just all of a sudden I'm at ease. Until it stopped working.
Yeah.
Right, because there's never enough. But like there's comfort. Like I don't pretend to be anybody else, man. Like I could tell you, I don't think I'm special. I think I just stay sober a day at a time, and it keeps me in the fight on trying to correct attitudes and behaviors and being a better guy.
Yeah.
Like that's it. Like people like pay you compliments, and that feels weird. It's like, dude, I'm telling you, like I'm not special, man. Like I know that without this, I'm nothing. And the comfortability is like I don't like it's easy to tell my story. No one knows it better.
Yeah, of course.
I could tell it all day, and I don't have to practice or rehearse or write down lines. And then we'll get done this, and it's like I don't even know what the fuck we talked about.
Yeah, that happens because you kind of get like lost in the zone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's because it's just the truth coming out.
Yeah,
that's all it is. And
let me ask
special.
you this: like, I mean, you have 13, or about to have 13 years, and I have 205 days. Like, any advice? Like, just knowing me a little bit that you do and doing this, I don't know how you did it. I can assume some things that you've done consistently, but like any advice for someone like me?
Yeah, well, we just talked about it, right? We don't give advice, man. Just my experience is that you're not going to get good at that life, right? That other alternative, it's like you tried, I tried. Yeah. I tried every which way possible. And like, why? What's the, it's weird. We live in a society that's so fucking obsessed with drinking. You know what I mean? Like even if but there's nothing normal about the way we did it.
No.
But like I'll be honest with you, like I ain't missing out on nothing, man.
Yeah.
Like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like you don't see the fucking hangover pictures on Facebook. You don't see the fucking fights with the girl on Facebook.
Yeah.
You've seen the fucking tailgates at the Phillies games and shit like that. But like the reality of it
the
is,
32-hour paycheck that follows that. You know what I mean?
That's what fucking. I was a time traveler. You know what I mean? Fucking blacked out on the couch, pissed myself. What happened? I'm like, I don't know.
Good question.
Yeah. We're even worse. We're like, you know what happened last night? Well, I have a feeling you're about to tell me. Like it's not going to be good, right?
Yeah.
But and again, thank God for laughter, because when I was going through that, like as a younger kid, like you almost wore like with some kind of bravado, I guess, right? But like, man, like I hated it, dude. Like a pit in my stomach and shit like that. Like I don't want to live like this.
Yeah.
And that's when I thought it was semi-normal to behave like that and do all that kind of crazy shit. But what happens is for a guy like me, it becomes disgustingly antisocial.
Yeah, total introvert.
I don't go anywhere. I'm not.
Yeah.
I have to share. And like I was such like an egomaniac. Like I would tip the bartender $20. Like, you know what I mean? Like yo, that's like you divide it up in your head as like 4 perks and shit like that. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
You know, and there's really, it was just a matter of drinking and drugging to get it on a certain level to where like I didn't want to socialize.
No.
I didn't want to.
I would look forward to sitting on my couch on a day like this, start a fight with my wife, watch TV high by myself.
Dude, I used to get high and like, my wife would come home and I would fake sleep at 8 o'clock at night so she couldn't see the pinpoints in my eyes.
Yeah.
I did that for I did that for 2.5 years.
Dim the lights and so we don't have to eat so she can look at my eyes.
Yeah.
Yep.
But how much fun are you having? Like, there's no fun there. There's nothing, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to drug, like, go ahead. And then she would drug test me. She would go to the store to get one, and I'm, like, pouring Pine Sol in a fucking, and then she came home, the whole house smelled like, oh, shit, what, you clean it? I'm like, I'm high. You know what I mean? Like, I'm, like, and that's the thing. I used to be so fascinated how I would just make a phone call, and she'd be like, are you fucking high? And I'm thinking, like, how did she know? All you have to do is say that. Because I was. Because no matter what, I think my voice changed and she knew.
Everything, mannerisms,
all
voice.
tells and shit. I
like
think,
just your physical demeanor.
But if you took a guess, I was high.
Yeah.
Because I lost the ability of choice with all that shit. It's just like, what a shitty, miserable existence that is.
It's terrible. Like, I remember the one thing I heard, like, you hear all these good shit in AA, like the most pain is wanting to get sober and not being able to get a day. AA works so well, I stopped coming.
Yeah.
That was my life, dude.
Yeah, it's doing great, right? But here's the deal, dude. I did all that, right? And I'd rather be talking about, wanting to drink or drug, at a 12-step fellowship meeting versus being at the bar drunk talking about trying to get sober.
Ah, fucking A, man. You can't compare.
I've tried that, man. Like, how fucking nuts that is. And sad that is. Because, like, that's the thing. Like, I can no longer drink and drug and be ignorant about it. Like, I know there's a better way of life.
Yeah.
Like, and that's...
Hey, ruins it for you.
Dude, the fucking head full of that shit and a belly full of booze don't mix, right? It fucking ruins it for you.
Yeah.
And it ruined it for an early age for me because, like, the way I was raised, my parents struggled with that. Like, I remember my dad, who's not really, like, super emotional guy, like, so, like, he felt like he did something wrong. I'm like, dude... I was seeking out recovery at 21 years old because I know the way that I was raised, I was living wrong, and that's not okay.
Yeah, you felt it.
The road to the right was paved for me. I went left and got lost and couldn't close doors for a long time, right? Like, that had nothing to do with my parents. And that's what people, like, blame all that. Like,
yeah, you can't blame anyone but yourself.
Well, that's the thing. You want to know who stays sick? Those that never take responsibility for where they're at.
Yeah.
Like, that's all. Like, if you had my job or my wife or my upbringing, my family, it's like, yeah, but, like, here's the thing. Like, people, places, and things, you're the common denominator
every time.
Every one of those.
Every time.
Because I drank and drugged and got high everywhere.
If people even, like, close to me throughout my life would even say, well, your dad was, he was what he was, and your mom did this, and I'm like, none of that fucking mattered.
Yeah.
I wanted to get high because that's all I fucking wanted to do.
once I drank, and that's the thing. People think you got to be an everyday guy, and it's like, no. When I drink, when I drug, like, what happens? My reality gets altered, right? Like, I don't know how I'm going to behave. I don't know when I'm going to stop.
Yeah, and it's fucking instant. It happens in a fucking instant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not like that's like I'm just not willing to risk. Like living life finally, dude. You know what I mean? Like I'm living life with my wife, my daughter, my nephews, and my sister, and like I'm fucking there. My sister said to me, like, oh, I guess the boys are gonna get their uncle back. Yeah. Because like you said, you're hanging around with your nephew or whatever, but you're not fucking there.
Yeah.
You're waiting for you're counting the minutes till you gotta get the fuck out of here.
Well, you know why I realized that? Because the first time I was actually all in on this kind of shit, right, is Halloween, and we took him trick or treating. He was 3-4 years old at the time, and I left in the car on Lehigh Ave, and I just started crying. Like, and I was like, to experience Halloween with a kid was like a blessing.
Yeah,
where I was physically there, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, finally felt it.
Yeah,
and I was like, damn, I was missing out on all this kind of shit. And I've always wanted to get time too. I want to get time. I want to get time. And here's what's more special than that: watching others. Yeah,
it is amazing.
Watching others come in that are beat down and gray and can't pick their head up, and 6 months later, they're doing a podcast, right?
Yeah.
They're 6 months later, they're actually like trying to help dudes, and they're laughing and smiling and grabbing a bite to eat and shit like that.
Dude, there's a guy that I go to the August meeting with. We have about the same time. He's a little older, And the story, the change is amazing. Like not having a relationship at all with his son to just watching his grandson at his son's house, whose house he wasn't allowed in, watching Toy Story to infinity and beyond, like, and hearing that message that he would share for the past 6 months and see it like actually happen.
That's cool.
It's fucking crazy, dude. I could have cried like hearing it. I'm like, dude, and like he related to infinity and beyond because he thought it was going to take infinity amount of time to get this to have this situation happen, and it happened for him. And it's like, man, that's fucking AA, man. That's God. It's the program. It's like it's all that stuff.
But
dude.
it's special, right? But that's it. Even like it's funny how lost you are. And I remember taking a new guy. We took a new guy out to like Outback Steakhouse the one time, and no one really knows. I knew him from the neighborhood, but no one else really knew him. And the waitress comes along. He orders a steak, and she's like, "Do you want onions and mushrooms with that?" And he looked to the dude next to him. He's like, "Do I like onions and mushrooms?" Like, I don't fucking know. And like, but that's how lost you are, right? Like, and it was so. And thank God for laughter, right?
Yeah.
And it's a different sense of laughter there too, because like we're not clowning them,
Nah.
right? We're laughing because it's like it's so funny how fucking lost you are.
Yeah, we're
like,
crazy.
I don't know what you like mushrooms and onion. How the fuck would I know that? Right? But that's what it is. Like, because even when you're breaking balls amongst like neighborhood buddies who I grew up with, like it's fucking different. You just you dig
it's
a little
harsh.
Yeah, dig a little deeper.
Fucking deep.
This shit is like a little bit more fuck, and it's genuine belly laughs, man.
I wonder if that's like, is that like a Philly thing? Because like if I was hanging out with my buddies growing up and an outsider came in, they wouldn't think we were friends.
Yeah, they were like, "You guys like each other?" Yeah. Like, what's going on? It's crazy, right? I don't know what that is. But I know that we all like grew up busting balls and breaking.
Yeah.
You know, that's the funny thing. Like the firehouse thinks they break balls. I'm like, dude, you know, I grew up with breaking balls. This is okay.
Yeah.
This isn't that bad. You know, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
But I know that the laughter around this kind of shit is definitely just different.
It's different.
You know,
it's different.
Not better. No, it's just different.
I always think because it's like everyone has that sense of appreciation of how bad it was before you got to this point. So there's like you automatically relate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dude, I was on a job site and I just got back from rehab and the roofers were there. And the guy was sober, and I heard him say something like, "I don't drink." So like I found, "Yo, you don't drink, dude?" And he's like, sober like 17 years, and I had like 30 plus days. He left the job, came back a month later, like he was like 62 days today. I'm like, how the fuck did you put that together, dude? Last time you said you had this, and I haven't been here for this, and I'm like that's
cool,
and like we
right?
just connected.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
But it's like the way they related is like being saved from a shipwreck, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost, but except you're seeing each other all the time, not just after like we get saved. It's like you get saved and you're showing up together and whatever that, like a lot of people that just, if you see them at Applebee's and you see like, you know, a black skateboarder with this white dude and a Chinese kid, I'm like, dude, they're probably sober.
Because it's such an eclectic group.
Because it doesn't matter.
It don't matter.
It's such a goofy mix.
It's
Just
funny because like you see the outside world and you're like, come on, that's not my reality, dude.
Yeah.
Like everyone gets along in this program.
Yeah.
Like not everybody, but everybody can and has the
Yeah.
ability to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like life's really, for the most part, not a Hallmark commercial with
No.
all these different fucking characters.
Yeah.
But like when it comes to this, it is
Yeah.
because it don't discriminate. Older, young, black, white, male, female, all that shit. It's out the window.
It is.
It'll steal your soul, dude.
Yeah.
Right? Like I said, park out to the park bench, get out of jail, kind of shit. And it's like, yeah, it don't matter.
Yeah.
Because it takes us where it takes us, man, and it's a lonely place.
It is.
Right?
It is. Sean, dude, I appreciate you doing this, man. It was like an honor for me to even get you over here. And like, I was so nervous with the dog and my wife and this and that. It worked out perfectly, man. Yeah, I went to Best Buy and I'm like, how do I fucking get a better camera? The battery dies like an hour. He's like, you can buy a second battery. I'm like, it's a genius.
Isn't it? Like, it's funny when like Joe said, "Raise your hand." Like,
Yeah.
that's what you think. All these old timers have these profound answers. I remember like we were at a step meeting and it was like step 5, which was my handcuff for a long time. And the one guy there who's like the man, I love him. Jerry, his name is, and he said, "You know why you do step 5?" And I'm thinking he's gonna like. He's like, "It's after 4."
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Dude, it's like a simple program. You know, it's very simple.
Yeah.
It can be hard. Like if I told you we have to fucking move 1,000 bricks from here to there, it's simple.
Yeah.
But it's fucking hard.
Yeah,
Dude. You know
I
what
can
mean?
do it.
But it's just one brick at a time, dude.
And again, the blessing of it all is to show up and stay in the fight. Like have that ability to keep showing up and doing the deal, man. Like,
Yeah.
and you're not going to fall off the roof. You're not going to stumble, man. But you got to constantly try to lone wolf it. You got to constantly stay open and honest with not everybody, but you'll probably build a tribe. It's like you don't have to dance with me. You don't have to dance with everybody, but you better find someone to dance with.
Well, that was the thing they preached at Karen treatment where I went. The opposite of addiction is connection.
Yeah.
And we're so good at.
Did you have Claire there? You know Claire?
Nah.
That's my buddy from fire department. Yeah, she was like one of the counselors or whatever she did.
Yeah, I was in the relapse men. There was a couple people. There was no Claire though, but. Yeah. But like that's what it is. Like the opposite of addiction is connection. Because like as soon as I get sad, I don't tell anybody. As soon as I think about drinking, I'm not telling anybody. And now that you do those things, imagine that it goes away. You feel better.
But that's the thing. Like them dark thoughts. Like again, it's like the cartoon where the snowball's rolling down the hill, and now it's a fucking problem. Yeah. You don't want to get there. So it's just like right away, man. Like how long would it take you to get drunk and high? Yeah, so well, do it now. Yeah, right. Like make the phone call, tell people, and that's the name of the game.
Well, that's it. That's the thing. Similar to what we were talking about this earlier with the repetition. Like,
is that working or not working?
Yeah, we're good. Oh, okay. I just didn't connect it.
Okay,
but like the repetition with sobriety, like I had repetition every day, get high, every single day. The reps were there.
Yeah,
it did the same thing every single day. So like, why can't I do that in sobriety? Like, and these like little things that you hear in the meet, like, yeah, I could do that. I could do that in sobriety. You know.
What's that noise? I don't know. It went away.
But I want to ask you, like, you got sober when your wife saw the horrible times with you. So, like, how did you fix all that? Because, like, I'm in the process of doing that now. You know what I mean? Like,
well, that's the funny part, right? Like a day at a time, and having the conversations with her and making the amends and doing, and the living amends is staying sober is the most powerful one.
Yeah, for sure.
Because whatever you do, and you go back on that, then it's like it's all lost. And that's the funny part. Like people get pissed off. It's like I'm telling my wife this, and she fucking don't believe me. Like, well, because you've been lying. Oh, now you're telling the truth.
Yeah, I love when I hear that shit in the rooms. Like, well, I can't decipher my wife's text. I can't tell if she loves me or hates me. I'm thinking, well, dude, you got 9 days sober.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing. Like I remember when I came in. Yeah, so do we, dude. It was 3 weeks ago. You fucking asshole. Well, why don't you shut the fuck up? Like this is the thing. Like, what do you mean? It's like a faraway land. It's 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like you gotta allow people to process these feelings and emotions too. And even when we like go out and make amends and do all that kind of shit, like you'll hear people like, I made amends and they didn't forgive. Like, that's on them. Like, nah, it's still on you a little bit, dude.
Yeah.
Like that's it. Then that's the thing. Like that 5-pound sack is a reminder of who I become and who I hurt and what I don't mean to be. Mm-hmm. Like, so it's not just fucking on them. It don't dominate me anymore, and I made the effort. But it's at the same time, it's like it's a pretty good reminder.
Yeah.
Of like, you think that's a good idea? Like, this is who you really are. You know, and I'm not that dude today.
Yeah, I mean, same thing with my relationship with my daughter and my marriage. My marriage is better than ever. Imagine that. You know what I mean? It's better than ever.
And it's going to stay that way. You know, through sobriety.
What sobriety does for me with my marriage, it's like it helps me to understand it in real time when things are about to go haywire, so I can stop them from going haywire. You know what I mean? Like this morning we had an argument, a disagreement. You know, not about the podcast, but just the dog. It was overwhelming. And 99 times out of 100, I'm probably cursing. I'm probably saying something I wish I didn't say as soon as I said it. And like those things don't happen anymore. So like the almost fight ended as soon as it started. Whereas before, it's vicious and ugly and nasty, and I'm saying horrible things and it lasts a month. You know what I mean? So like that's the one good thing about my marriage that sobriety's helping me with is like I recognize in real time when I'm being a dick. Or even if she is being what I perceive as a dick, we get through things quicker. You know what I mean? Like we don't fight.
Yeah, and at the end, what I'm at now with my wife is like, that's my teammate. Like that's,
of course,
that's
100%.
who I'm going through this with. This is who I'm raising my kids with. Like that's and I have to do it better, maybe doing this podcast, right? Saying it out loud and letting her know, like, because it doesn't come naturally to me. But like, that's my girl. That's my special person. And like, I gotta remember, like, dude, like I ain't nothing without her. Because there was do-gooders in my life where I gave up on me. Right? There's a reason why these dudes get linked up with methadone, because like they gave up on them, their family gave up on them. No one wants nothing to do with them. Here's the handcuffs. Throw them on yourself.
Yeah. Get
the fuck away. You're a pain in the ass kind of shit. You know what I mean? And like I had do-gooders in my life that just wouldn't let me settle for fucking nothing less.
Yeah.
And she was definitely one of them. Like I would have left, man, because it's like the chaos and the fuck, like the crummy shit and just being a shitty dude,
a horrible person.
Yeah. And like it's a reminder. I'm not beating myself up over that, but like that's what I became when I was drinking and drugging. I didn't mean to be, but like self-centered to the core, man.
Well, it's like when somebody talked to me before about like I was talking about the Day Before Rehab podcast, and before I even realized that was what I was going to make this thing, I said all I know is I want to get as far away from that day as possible. Like but not in a sense like I want to forget it. I just want to just build and grow and get away from that person I was that day. Like I can't ever forget how I was feeling. Like it's not like you might not be able to feel like the visceral reaction or the emotions of that day, but like the memories are there, and like it was fucking bad, dude.
Yeah,
it was sad. It was sad.
It's sad.
On my knees down the shore, like looking in the mirror, like what the fuck are you doing, dude? Like you're this beautiful wife.
I always had like last days. I remember like gumming oxys going on a plane down to Florida and shit like that. Like the fucking chaos of it all with my mom, my wife, one of my buddies. And I don't even know if that was the last time. I forget. Like there was
there's so many last times, dude.
And
so many last times.
The timeline is shot, dude. Because here we don't get to live the way we live and come out of it unscathed. Like my memory's pretty shitty at times where I'm like, there's a lot I don't remember, man. I can't remember. It's not because I blacked out. It's because again there was a grayness there that like it was like
you're in the fog, man.
Empty routine.
Yeah,
you know, like that you talked about. It was just an empty routine of shit. Full-time job with fucking nothing to show for it. That's it. I remember my one buddy's dad grabbed me and he's like, "Yo, can you believe he doesn't have a fucking dollar in his bank account?" And I'm like, I'll be honest with you, he would be the first dude I knew with a dollar in his bank account if he did. We don't, because being broke helps you get there. Right? Like, maybe it wasn't your story this time, but like it helps. Like, I ain't got no fucking money to do this shit. As I said, I want to overdraft in the absolutely.
Dude, there's been so many times in my life where I knew that I had no money in my account, but it didn't show yet, and I would just take out like $300 at the ATM and say, fuck it.
Well, that's when I was high, I would pay the bills. And then I was sober, I would go withdraw the fucking money. And then it would be like negative whatever in the bank account. It's just like, it was just this never-ending cycle. Yeah. Like, it's funny. It's fascinating how many people have these great ideas. Like when you hear stories, like one dude used to mail himself $100 on Friday so he would have enough money to get through the week. Like, that's fucking genius.
I had a fucking genius idea one time to buy the $50 5-hour scratch offs.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way you're not gonna fucking make more than your $250. Dude, it was like $120, dude. I was like, what a loser.
I would save change. The one time I went in the Washington Savings Bank, so excited. I had like $11 in change. Yeah. And I'm like, fucking right. Go in there, and they're like, no, it wasn't. I'm sorry. It was police and fire. And they're like, you actually owe $42. I've never been so sad. It wasn't like a fucking jar. It was a solo cup of fucking change. And like, well, how sad and pathetic it is. Like when you're trying to like just fucking trying to scratch together whatever you can, right? Like, and you're just trying to either to get on or you're trying to continue a load and like there's a fucking sadness and an emptiness to all that kind of shit too. I don't want to do that.
No.
And today we're not. Today we're doing the deal here.
That's why, like, I've been struggling with Sundays and shit like that, like with the downtime. So I was like super happy that you were coming over today because like gave me something to look forward to, and like just the productivity of us doing this gets me out of my head. You know what I mean? Like when I'm stuck in my head, like probably similar to you, it's just not a good place to be. And regardless of how much time sober I have, it's just not a good place to be.
Yeah, because again. Left to my own devices, dude, like I'm sick. Yeah. And I give me 24 hours. I'll bring the world down on my head. Right? Like I don't need much time. Like
dude, we talked earlier about Don't Sweat the Small Stuff book. So the reason why I never even heard of it until a couple weeks ago. My buddy sent me like 2 pages of it. There's a Mark Twain quote in it. I've been through some terrible things in my life, some of which actually happened. And I was like, dude, I bought the book that day. I'm
it's
like,
projection. You project, right? Like, well, if this happens and this dude cuts me off, I'm going to get out of fucking... Like, and you're like, how am I locked up? And like, nothing happened. No one even cut you off. Like, I understand, like, how nuts the brain... Well, this is how powerful the mind is. Like, it convinces people that it's a good idea to end their life.
Yeah.
Like, that's fucking nuts, dude. Say that shit out loud. Like, I'm going to go fucking do this, right? And it's just like, dude, that's insane.
It gives me the fucking chills.
Because, like, suicide, right? It's a permanent solution to temporary problems, and the pain doesn't end. It just gets passed on to somebody else. Right? Like, that's the deal with all that, man. Like, it's just like, but again, dying becomes a reasonable option when you're caught up in that lifestyle. Where it's like, I just don't want to do this anymore.
Can't stop.
You know, and sadly, it happened to people in my life. And, I've made peace with it a long time ago, where it's like, it had nothing to do with me. Because if it did, they would have been sober a long time ago. Because we tried the thing about my aunt that killed herself, like she shot herself and lived, right? And I was sober during this stretch of time, and I was working with a dude who was the man down in South Philly, still one of the best dudes ever. I stay in touch with him to this day. Mm-hmm. And he said, And the sad part of it all was like when she woke up, she still wanted to die. And I was just heartbroken. And I was talking to him about it. And he said a couple things to me. He said, well, you're uncomfortable in your sobriety. You need to continue on with the rest of your step process, because I was a big 1, 2, 3 guy, right? And he said, if you want to get through this, you help your mother get through it. And I thought in my head, like, what the fuck's that got to do with anything? And like, I got away from AA again. And I had 6 months at the time. And I was coming up on a year with no more AA for the last 5.5 months, coming up on a year. And I decided I was going to drink again. And if shit hits the fan, I'll go back to AA.
Isn't that funny how we tell ourselves that?
It's nuts. And then that night I drank, and that's what I say, that the worst thing happened, like nothing. I drank, I danced, I went home, and I thought, like, see, I was a little bit different than you guys.
Yeah.
Right? And then the whole story, and now, like, being in AA and doing the deal and all that kind of stuff, and working a program, I got the phone call from my uncle. And he said, your Aunt Reen killed herself. And the very first thing that ran through my head is, like, that bitch. Like, I was pissed. I was fucking hurt. But the next thing that went through my head is like, if I want to get through this, I better help my mother get through it.
Yeah.
Because I was at a different place in my life to where, like, it was no longer, like, tragedy's not my tragedy anymore. Right? Like, if someone in the neighborhood would die, I'd be bellied up at the bar, like, give me a drink. You know what I mean? Who died?
Yeah, woe is me
all
type
I would
shit.
know is their fucking nickname.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even know their last name.
Yeah.
Right? Like, everything, poor me. Like, it's just like, and that's the thing when, like, if it's heavy, go be there for their family. Go help them get through it. Right, and that's just a different mentality today, and it's not anything I came up with. It's just because I was taught. I was taught by these people, like, you know what I mean, like, be a man of dignity and honor, and do something different.
Well, when you hear guys like yourself share in the rooms, they always say the same thing. This is how I was taught. I was taught this. I didn't make this shit up on my own.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, and it's like, yeah, that's right. I'm just doing what they're telling me works.
That's even Shivesy and all them. They'll say shit like, you know what I mean? Like, you're out in the fucking jungle chopping shit down with a machete. The past right here.
That's a Shives line.
It's laid right here, bro. Come back. We're right here, dude.
I could hear his voice saying that shit.
Dude, he was so influential in my early he's my homie.
Yeah, we talked the other day. He's a great dude.
What a special guy.
Great dude. And like you two, you're very similar. You two, like I joked around because I asked him to do it like 3 months ago. And he was going to do it, and he's got some work stuff. He's always traveling. Mm-hmm. So I was going to text him, don't worry, I got the Fishtown version of you anyway, bro. I didn't say it that way. You guys have been the same way ever since I met you two. You know what I mean? It's like just always.
Well, he's been one of my teachers. Since, and that's there's one dude that officially sponsors me. And there's a lot of other people who are super influential. Yeah. And I still stay in touch with and pay attention when they talk kind of shit. You know what I mean? It's just like. And that's the thing. I was working with a guy today, and I said, like, there's certain people that you can listen to all day, and other people you just wish to shut the fuck up. Yeah. Like, it's like, because it's like there's a genuineness to certain people. Like, dude, I felt that, and people have this gift, and he's one of them.
Him, you definitely two guys.
There's a
like
gift
that.
there where, like, I can listen to this dude all day.
But you know who else is like that too? Franny, Shives' boy, Franny, electrician.
Yeah.
Like when you guys like you share. I always know that it's going to relate to me in some way, shape, or form. Like, I'm going to get something out of that share because, like, you guys are just. I feel like, I say this reluctantly because it is only 205 days, but I feel like we're similar type guys. You know what I mean? Neighborhood guys, like ball busting guys, hardworking guys. Like, there's a type, right? Don't you think? And like, you guys are that type for me. Like I look up to you guys. My point.
It's a breath of fresh air, right? There's a breath of fresh air around sobriety where it's just like, these neighborhood kids that I can relate to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like, I know the way like there's neighborhood kids that got in there before and were sober. They didn't even have to say anything. They were sober. And I'm like, well, I know how he drank and drunk and did all that shit. And he's sober today. It's like, man, I can just watching him. That's the message.
Yeah.
That's like the big book, right? That's the kind of stuff where like, you don't even got to say shit, man. Like, but there's the version of it right there. Like, it's possible for me.
It's like literal proof.
Yeah, there's other people where like I can't relate to, but like it's cool. And I'm rooting for everybody. But if you want to invite them to the fucking diner, you sit next to them. Like, I don't care. Like I don't have fucking time for this bullshit. Like, I don't have time.
Well, I get that like logic behind it. Like you're not here to waste time.
No, and that's like my thing is like. Again, some of these places, they smell like fucking cologne and Red Bull. Like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to go there. And it's cool. It's rocking out, dude. I get it, especially if, like, they're coming in younger and younger. And the scary part is the meth shit that they're coming in with now. Because, as gnarly as the opiate epidemic is and all that kind of stuff, like they're losing their fucking minds, man. Like they're losing their minds, and like I don't know what you do to the point where you cross where you're not coming back. Mm-hmm. You know, and
it's like the switch is off.
There's some stuff that we can't fix, man. Yeah, because there's just, and I don't have answers for that shit. Yeah, and that's been the most prevalent thing going on right now. I see like people coming in off of that shit and the hallucinations.
Dude, so the people that we adopted the dog from is they're in Newark, New Jersey. So they did a home visit a couple weeks ago, and they even in Newark, New Jersey, which is not a good area, they're like, they want to know where Zombieland is.
Oh yeah.
They dropped the dog off for 4 hours, got Jim Steaks, and went down Kensington to Somerset because they wanted to see what it was about. And then they came back and they were fucking like amazed.
Dude,
I'm like, it's fucking bad.
It's not cat and mouse anymore. It's the mice are shooting shooting dope in the neck in the corner, and like there's nothing. Like it's insane.
It's like Amsterdam on the wire, dude. Yeah. Like they just let them go.
It's sad. It's sad. And I honestly, for like not being a third world country, like it's probably the most gnarliest place that I've ever been to.
It's fucking nuts,
especially the city of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I
mean, and since COVID, it got exponentially worse. Yeah. Like, cause I would go down there to get Suboxones probably like 5-6 years ago, but since COVID, it's although I have no need to go down there at all now anyway.
There's no rules. There's no rules. It's very, very sad. Yeah. And there's a loneliness and an emptiness down there, and I don't know how to clean that up. I don't know how to fix that.
Yeah.
I just know that thank God that it's not me today. And like a lot of people used to say like, but for the grace of God, there go I. And like this one lady said, like, well, you're assuming the grace of God isn't with them today.
Yeah, good point.
I don't know, man. You know, like because at the end of the day, if you got a pulse, you got a chance. Yeah. Like you got a chance. I don't know how many people counted people out. Like I remember getting phone calls like, yo, you want to take this phone call? It's like the fucking dude tried 9,000 times before. And I was like, yeah, because like we're responsible for the effort, not the outcome.
Yeah, good point.
Whether it's good or bad, I'm not responsible for that. Yeah, that's up to the individual.
And that's what they teach us, right? To be available.
Dude, it's like, I'll take the phone call. You know what I mean? And they're the stories I love the most is the people that I've seen and help, with the detoxes and the rehabs or whatever. Whether I sponsor them, didn't sponsor, like they're special to me because it's like I seen how bad it was. Mm-hmm. And like, he ain't that dude no more.
Yeah, then you see it work.
Yeah, like it's a me. My one buddy, his only options were like, am I going to jump in front of the train today or am I going to jump off a bridge? Right? And like, here we are like, 10 years later with a family and kids and shit. It's like, they didn't do that.
Yeah, I'm super grateful for this program, for you. And seriously, I really appreciate you doing this. This is a big deal for me because I was nervous when you got here because you're a real AA dude. There's no fluff with you. Like I've heard you share. I've felt you maybe be disappointed in a relapse that I have had before. So this was a big deal for me. But
I get sad when anybody does. I am. I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for people. Like, and I kid around. Like, there's not many people that I don't like around there. It's just because the relationships are different. Yeah. Yeah, man, you find your crew who you're running with. And listen, we tried to wrap this up like 9 times already. Like,
so we'll end on this note because this is fucking hilarious, okay. Right? I was at Life or Death Monday Beginners. The guy there is trying to build it up. It's a decent environment for that time.
Cool.
And somebody was there, and your name got brought up. This is before we even talked, and it was Holly, right?
Holly, okay.
Blonde-haired Holly.
Yeah.
She says Sean Dugan is the best-looking man in all Alcoholics Anonymous.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
I'm thinking like, and you're the craziest chick.
Yeah, there we go. My wife will love to hear that. Yeah. My wife
she's no threat. Trust me.
Yeah, my wife said, "Who's Holly? I'm gonna fucking kill her." I'm like, I'll be honest with you, I don't really know her either.
Oh, good.
Yeah, but I'm so shot out. Like I went to a tailgate yesterday for Cabrini because it closed yesterday, and they did like a Philly. It was really cool. Got to hang out with a couple of homies I don't get to hang out with in a long time. And like I call everyone dude and babe because I don't know their name. Yeah, I know their faces, but like,
there's too many fucking names, dude.
But that's it. Like I used to like be like, "Yo, what's up, man? I'm Sean." And like I used to do with like my wife's Jersey friends. Like, "Hey, what's up, man? Sean." They're like, "Yeah, I know, dude. I was at your wedding.
I met you 25 times, dude."
And I don't mean to be disrespectful. Like I'm just fucking shot out. Yeah, like it's bad.
Well, dude, my wife's texting me. We got to go. I appreciate it. Thanks, bro.
Rooting for you, bud. Love you.
Thank you, man.
Great
Appreciate
stuff with the podcast. Thank you for having me, buddy.
Thank you, dude.
Yeah, it's awesome. I guess I want to end it this way.
Love you, bro.
Yeah.
We love you, man.
I love all of you.
We love you, daughter.
I love you too.
That was nice.
And I tell you what, let's go.